Well, hello, everybody. We are live. I am so excited. Freedom Academy, here we are. It has literally become my favorite Wednesday activity that I've been doing. My name is Katie Brenner, also known to many of you as Katie B. Hair. Today, I am super excited because many of you that if you do follow me, you know not only am I a Rusk lover, all about Rusk, but I also have a passion for extensions. I also believe that extensions add value and add income to our services. So for many years, I was very hesitant to do extensions, and honestly, they scared me. And usually I'm the type, if something scares me, I throw myself into it and I get over it. I became a cut specialist first because cutting scared me, but extensions, it was always one of those, like, I watched it as an assistant and as a junior stylist, but I never took it on. Even though I had clients requesting it, I was like, I just don't want to do it. It's one of those that I've also learned from many other stylists. Hi, sorry, I'm saying hi to everyone as you come in. It's just scary, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of education, but that comes with everything in what we do. You got to be educated on what you do to be good at it, add value to your service, and make money from it. And today I get to show you guys how to do a weft install using my other favorite brand, which is Dreamcatchers. I am a elite educator with Dreamcatchers. So I travel around, I teach all four types of installs. So I teach K-tips, I-tips, tapes, and wefts. And being knowledgeable in all four is really important, just like when we're looking at color and being really knowledgeable in all of the color. You have to do the same when it comes to extensions, because it's like with color, you have a gray coverage that comes in. Is she wanting 100% gray, or is she wanting gray blending? What is good for her, maintenance? So when we look at extensions, we have to look at the same thing. It's not a one size fits all. And wefts is what I'm showing you today. And that is what has become really popular, but that may not be a good fit for your client. And so making sure you have your client come in and do a thorough consultation. When I do a consultation to find out what is best method for my client, I'm going to see how active they are, what their maintenance is, what their hair texture is. And one of the big things that I always keep in mind is if you have a client that, say, is a swimmer, super active lifestyle, sweats a lot, washes their hair a lot, they probably aren't ideal for any sort of adhesive extension, which is tape or K-tip. They might be better for a cold fusion, which is I-tip or weft. And those are a few of the questions I ask. And on my beautiful mannequin, Sally, today, she is ideal for wefts. So let's get into it. First, I want to talk about the Rusk products that I do use with my extensions and how I make that all work for me. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, everybody. Everyone's coming in. I love it. Okay. So when it comes to extensions, when I am prepping my extensions, I will show you guys. When we're prepping the extensions and putting the section up, you want to use a light hairspray. And my go-to hairspray is the brushable hairspray. This you can layer to make it stronger. But we're just going to do a mist over when I do it, and I'm going to brush it up nice and easily. Which type is best for wavy hair? That's a great question for extensions. Dreamcatchers offers wavy hair extensions. They have different levels of wave, everything from a soft wave, like kind of like what you see I have. And then they have it all the way up. They just came out with it like literally spiral curls. So even if they have wavy hair, you have to see how fine their hair is, what their lifestyle is, and what their maintenance is. And so that's what it gets into that. But you can always pair an extension really well with the hair texture, because you can pick out your color and you can pick out your wave with that. Back into products. Okay. For shampoo, when we are doing, you guys have seen it all over social media. When they take the purple shampoo, they put it in the sink, turn hot water on, and they dip their blonde extensions into that. The issue I've ran into is extensions are so absorbent, especially those platinum blonde ones. When we go to dip, it can be a little scary. I've even had a set of extensions. Thank goodness it was my sister. They turned green. And oh my gosh, I'm like, if I would have had that on a client, it would have been awful. So what you use for your purple shampoo on your clients may not be the same that you use for your extensions. However, Rusk came out with their VHAB. The VHAB literally is my girlfriend that can work both channels. She's able to work on my blondes that don't have extensions, not overpowering, not over drying. It's really a perfect balance of tone and hydration. So when I take my VHAP, what I do is I'm going to pump it into my sink, shut the sink, and I'm going to use the water and run it really, really extra hot. When we run that water extra hot on the extensions, it's going to help when you're dipping them in and doing your purple blonde dip. And then as I'm spraying the water into the shampoo bowl, I make sure to really get it on wherever I pumped this, and I pump this in first. So then it kind of mixes it. If you don't do it that way, you can use like a whisk, but make sure you get the purple really mixed up, dip your extensions in, pull them out. And I get asked, how many times do I dip it? How do I know? It is a visual dip. So when you're wanting to get those extensions nice and icy, what you want to do is you're going to dip them in, pull them out, and then I take my fingers and I wring out the water and look at those extensions. If they're still a little yellow, dip them in. It's quick. Like it is fast, especially if you're using hot water. That is my purple shampoo. Even when my clients go home for their maintenance, if they are my purple shampoo type of gal that needs it for their blonde on their own head, what you're going to tell them is, say they have their wefts in or whatever they have in, what they're going to do is first they're going to shampoo with their normal shampoo. So they're going to go over and they're going to grab their Color RX shampoo. This is safe with extensions. They're going to wash their scalp. They're going to wash their extensions and really make sure you tell them when they're washing their extensions that they're taking their fingers and they're doing a motion like this. So this is really going to get in to where the wefts are. Let me pull her over. I kind of got her prepped. So you're going to get in between where those wefts are. And I usually like to take my client's hand because they are scared if they haven't had extensions before, or even if they've had them for a while. Take their hands and place them into their hair and let them feel and show them how they need to get there in there and wash. So after they're done with the Rusk Color RX shampoo, what they're going to do is they're not going to wring out any of their extensions. So say pretend all of this is extensions, leave it dripping wet. What they're going to do is the hair up here is what they're going to use the VHAB on. So they're going to sit there, and sometimes I'll have some where they'll pull it back, put it in a ponytail. They might braid it and let it sit there. They're going to put the VHAB, scrub at the top where their blonde is, let it sit for, the 3 to 5 minutes. And then when it's time to rinse it out, the extensions are fully saturated with water. So that cuticle is filled with water. So when they rinse out the purple shampoo and it cascades over their blonde extensions, it's not going to be overpowering. It's going to be like a very soft version of what you did when you dipped, because it's just running over, which is great, especially if they're one that like loves that icy white. That's going to help with maintaining it. Another way with shampooing that I tell my clients is a half shampoo. So say they don't feel like washing their extensions and they're not bad. Get your Color RX shampoo, and they're going to take their extensions. Once again, this is my extensions down here, and I'll have them put it behind their head. And you can go to your kitchen sink, bathroom sink, and they're just going to wash the top of their head. Really clean it, wash it, blow dry it, let it drop that down. Because having extensions, it's a lot of work when it comes to wash day. That's like those memes you say. Planning for my wash day, it's a lot with extensions. So making sure you talk them from start to finish on how to take care of them, they're going to enjoy them better and they're going to last a lot longer. The other product that I love to use for home care that I always recommend to my clients is extensions aren't damaged. Sometimes clients come in and they're like, they're feeling so dry, they're damaged. They're not damaged. Majority of the time, the extensions are dry. So you need to make sure you're using a really good treatment on them. And the 2-minute mask, my best friend. I love this mask. Make sure that you educate them on it. keep it on the mids and ends. Make sure they keep it off of anywhere that you have applied the extensions. Keep it off of that. Only 2 minutes, so it's cutting down, once again, that wash day for them. They're not having to leave a treatment in for a really long time. So those are my 4 products that I love and send my clients home with for home care. When it comes to coloring extensions, this is a big one, you guys. I use either Deep Shine Permanent or Demi. And the big thing you want to do is extensions are absorbent. So when you take a color to them, use warm or a neutral. And I usually will pick a level 1 or 2 lighter than what my target level is, and I'll do it. And word to the wise, get, if you're brand new to extensions and haven't done it, buy a pair of extensions. It's gonna hurt a little bit, but these are gonna be your experiment extensions. Take them, and I want you to take all of your favorite shadow root formulas you use on your clients, and go through and put those on the extensions. Lay them out on a tray, write down each formula, and do that, because you guys would be shocked. I had one of my students text me freaking out because she went to do a shadow root and it wasn't on the client's head yet. Thank goodness. It turned purple. And she was freaking out. And you got to make sure you play with it, because extensions are not cheap. And if you're experimenting with those extensions that your client paid for and it goes wrong, it's going to get squirrely. So when you are doing a color on the extensions, always wash them. I never, ever, ever put a pair of extensions on a client that have not been washed. It's going to blend better with the natural hair once you finish. B, we want to have them nice and clean and ready to go. And then C, if you're going to color, I always prefer coloring on wet extensions. Dry extensions, you're just not getting that blend. Also, when you are adding water into your extensions, like I said, they're like a sponge. So envision a sponge that's completely dry and you put it in water, it's going to suck it up really, really fast. If you have a sponge that's already filled with water and you put it in the water, it's going to soak it up, but it's not going to be crazy. Why don't you match the extensions to the client's color? You're wanting to match it to their color, but you want to target up 1 to 2 because extensions are so absorbent. And they're going to overly saturate and grab onto that color. And even though you're matching it perfectly to what you would formulate on their natural hair, it's not going to take the same way. Even the tones you're using, say you're using like a 8A ash deep shine demi and doing a shadow root, do not put a 8A ash on extensions because it's going to pick it up. So that's why I'm saying make sure you guys go and get swatches or something and play with the colors on them before you get to extensions. It scared me for a long time to where I would just order the extensions, the color and everything they were, and put it on their head because I didn't want to touch it with color. But we want to customize it, and customizing extensions makes all the difference. However, Dreamcatchers, they do offer rooted ombre blends, really, really pretty colors. So I do get lucky a lot of times. I don't have to color them. I do like to put a gloss on them as I wash them. So those are little steps that I do take to help with the extensions. And Deep Shine Demi is like my BFF. I love, love, love using like the 8N. It's kind of my go-to with shadowing. I might drop it down a little bit, but always, always, always check it. And it never needs to process the same amount of time. Any questions you guys have? Because there's a few of you on here before I jump into the part everyone I know is waiting to see, is the install. So if I don't see any questions, I'm going to scroll up and make sure we got, why don't you mash? Good to know. Sharon, thank you for all of your great questions. Angelina, thank you. Tiffany, it's so good to see you. Okay. Do you get blonde extensions and then customize? That is a really good question. So I had a student that was like, I'm going to buy a good amount of backstock and I'm just going to buy blonde because then I can customize them to any client that comes in. Yes and no. I like to buy level 20, which is like platinum, for any of my girls that I'm already doing like, you know, the blonde highlights, the balayage. She's more of a blonde than a brunette, and I'll shadow root those. But if we're dropping down into like 8, 7, 6, 5, the levels, you know, I want to buy Target on what it is. And when you have your swatches, that's when you color match the swatch to your client. So you'll take the swatch and you're going to put it up to them, and you're not going to leave the swatch straight. You're going to fan it out and see. And also with the colors, when it comes to extensions, I usually don't put just one color. So even though say they're my max blonde and we're doing nothing but platinum 20 colors, I might get another platinum that's rooted. If I'm doing a brunette, I might do 3 different colors. The more colors you mix in, the more natural it's going to look for you guys. So that was a really good question. Okay, here we go. I have Sally. As you guys have been watching, Sally's like my BFF that you guys get to see. So I did prep her because putting in the foundation, the cylinders, can take quite some time. So I'm going to show you guys just a few of them on this side, and we're going to get into all of it. First of all, what I want to tell you guys, when it comes to installing your cylinders, you need to make sure you're installing the correct cylinders. So there is I-tip cylinders and there are weft cylinders. What are the difference? I-tip cylinders have no silicone in them because the I-tips have rubber at the tip of them. So, you know, you have your cylinder, you put in your I-tip, and then you put the hair in, and that I-tip is protecting the hair. With wefts, we are pulling that hair and nothing else through it. So make sure you have a silicone one. Next, you need to pick out the color of cylinder that's going to work for your client. I put dark cylinders on her today so you guys could see it. But what you want to do is you want to match your cylinder color to their root. So even though say you're making them blonde, but they have dark root, make it dark. Because even if you're putting in highlights in their hair and you put blonde cylinders in, when the hair parts or does anything, it's going to look like white flakes or specks in their hair, and it's not going to look cute. So I always recommend to go darker when in doubt with your cylinders because it's going to help blend a lot more. Same thing goes for your guys's string. So with the string, I'm using pink today because it's dream catcher color, but also you want to match your string to the color of their root, not the color that you're doing. So if they're a brunette, get a dark brown, light brown, black nylon string, and that's what you're going to do. And a tip, this is mandala string. It is my favorite. It is strong. Some people prefer cotton. Some prefer nylon. I prefer nylon because it is strong. When cotton gets wet, it contracts and expands. It can hold water. Nylon doesn't do that. So there are specific ways that I do use the nylon to make sure that it's secure in the hair. What we're going to do now is we want to make sure do you find that brand you use lifts equally with lightener? So with lightener, that's a really good question. So she asked, do you find that the brand you use lifts equally with lightener? So we never want to use lightener on extensions. So it's once you root them or do anything, that's what it is. It is not recommended to use lightener on extensions because it's going to really dry them out and it's not going to be great for the extensions, for the longevity of them. And you won't have predictable results because when extensions come to you guys, that is not hair color. So say you have a rooted extension that you ordered, that color is done with textile color. So that's not like a hair color that was put on there. So that's textile color. Even if we're putting our color on there and then we're going to lighten through it, it's just not going to work. So if you need highlights or anything like that, you can either order it, the color with it that you need, or sometimes you can add K-tips in with some blonde on them if you were doing wefts and say it's a brunette you have and they want to add more highlights to it, but they don't want to pay for a new weft, get some K-tips and you can customize it. Yes, never knew that. Not many people know that, and that's a really important part of it. All right, when it comes to sectioning, I brought my gooseneck in for you guys so you guys can literally see in front of me where you should. So how our sections... Don't mind the wobbliness. How our sections are going to be is we want to make sure that we are taking horizontal sections Move one section. There we go. There we go. So we're going to take horizontal sections. Sometimes you'll see the wefts where it comes up. We don't want it to come down and up around the head because the weight distribution, you want the weft to grow down evenly together. If you have it higher in the front, think of the weight that's going to hang on that as that weft starts to grow out. I also 2-finger rule. You want to make sure when you're installing extensions, you're 2 fingers away from the front hairline and 2 fingers away from the back hairline. Also the crown area, I make sure that is sectioned and out of the way because a lot of clients have calyx at their crown and it's going to split and not look cute. So make sure you're really looking when you are sectioning this top section where the hair is laying. Another tip is when I'm working on extensions, we're doing 1 row today. But if you're doing multiple rows, then you want to start from the bottom and work your way up. You don't want to start where I'm at and then work your way down. It's just going to be harder to work. A 1 row is ideal for someone that wants 2 to 3 inches extra, or maybe just a extra volume added. All right, let's read a question. Do you buy only your extensions brand cylinders and thread or generic? I preferably use Dreamcatcher cylinders. Their cylinders are the highest quality that you're going to get, and they're going to have the longevity. With generic ones, when you go on Amazon, they will disintegrate faster. They may not hold on as well. So make sure, you are pairing it with that. When it comes to my string, I will sometimes use dream catchers, but I also will I like mandala. I go back and forth. I don't ever use cotton, but that was a good question. All right. Next up is with the placement of our cylinders. With our cylinders, when we are coming around our section, I have found that my thumb from this side to this side is the perfect width that the hair should be. And our section should be more of a rectangle and not a square. If you're familiar with K-tips or I-tips, you're wanting to do a square sectioning. With wefts, you want it to be on a rectangle. So say my rectangle, my cylinder I'm putting on here, because you want to have the hair, say, this is the scalp and here's the hair. As it grows out, we're going to make sure it has weight from this side and this side. If it's square, it's not going to have a lot of hair, especially when they come in for a move up. So we're going to make sure that it's a rectangle and you're getting just outside. And you'll know, you want to make sure you have enough hair in it. So when they come in for their move ups with wefts, move ups are recommended every 6 to 8 weeks. My brand new clients, I make them come in sometimes at 5 weeks, the younger ones, making sure they're taking care of them. And when they come up, a move up, I'll show you guys that, but a move up, you're going to open up the cylinder and you're going to brush out the shed. So if you don't install originally with enough hair inside that cylinder, when they come in for that refusion, that move up, and you're removing that shed, when you move it up, that cylinder is not going to have a lot of hair supporting it and holding it and keeping it there. All right, so let's get into showing you guys how I install my cylinders. A very important thing too is if you are new, I'm going to adjust this and get it nice and close for you guys. If you're new to doing wefts, I want you guys the whole time, ooh, that was my eyeballs, talking to your client, making sure that they're comfortable. The worst thing that you could do is get crosshairs. You guys are seeing my whole room. There we go. Just want to get close enough for you guys. Okay. You don't want to get crosshairs, and that's why taking the hairspray and spraying it. So we take it before I put in the Velcro. I'm going to take the hairspray and I'm going to spray it up, pretend the Velcro is not on there, and we're going to brush it up because we don't want any of this hair coming down into this area where we're going to be applying our cylinders, because if you get crosshairs, that's going to create tension, and over time that's going to create tension alopecia, and that you do not want, my friends. What we're going to need now is we're going to need our threader. And I have my cylinders. I prepped these. I have a bunch of these in my studio that I keep hanging so I don't always have to prep them. And ideally, these cylinders down here that are blonde, that's what I would put on her. But I'm using dark ones so you guys can see that. How many move ups can you do before removing? One move up. That is a really good question. We are only going to do one move up because we want to do a removal so the weft is not sitting on the hair the entire time, creating tension on that one section. moving that weft is going to help prevent any damage. A lot of people say that extensions create damage, and that's when we are not installing and removing when we should. So next we're going to have is our cute little pliers and a comb. Now, my little trick is my watch that I have right here literally is like where I'm always holding it and keeping it. So I don't know if you guys can see it. It's right there. And then I also keep my comb in there. What we're going to do now, I'm going to adjust her again because I need to, there we go. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay our hand down, and these sections right here, I'm going to match it. So it's kind of like when you're going in for a foil. And when I'm first installing cylinders, I don't start on the side. I start right in the middle in the back. So I took my slice. Now we need to make sure it's the right size. So I'm going to put my thumb up, and I've learned that my thumb is the right size, and I'm going to section right there. Now this is the essential part. We're going to lift up, make sure there's no crosshairs there, and it is a nice clean section. What we're going to do then is we're going to take our pincher fingers. We're going to open up our threader, and you want to be directly behind the section. I'm moving the camera because I'm trying to get there so it's installed properly. We want to be directly behind our sections because we want to make sure that it's installing right. So the loop is right here at her scalp, and I'm keeping it nice and high at the scalp, keeping my other hand here. I'm moving up the cylinder, and then we're going to pull the cylinder and hold the hair. Keep it nice and close up at the root. And if you have too much hair, what's going to happen? You're not going to be able to pull it. So just resection it. Now, when we're applying our cylinder, we want to make sure that we're not creating any elevation. So I'm not going to take my cylinder and push it up and have it really tight like that. Let me see if you guys can see the one next to it. Okay, so the one next to it, there's no elevation. It's not tight. If I put it really tight to the scalp like that, hoping it's going to help keep it in better, it's going to hurt their head. It's going to create tension, and we don't want to do that. So what I like to do is once I get that cylinder on, I'm going to come in with my clamp. I'm going to place it under, and we're going to make sure that the back side right here of my guys are flush with her head. So that's going to prevent any elevation. And then what we're going to do is we're going to clamp it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So it's got hair from this side to this side. So when I go through and sew, I'm going to have room to grab from that side and that side. I'm going to take my clamp, put it in. I'm going to pull out my comb. I'm going to check and make sure you guys haven't written anything. We're good. I like to take this hand to hold down the hair because it's just keeping control of the hair for me. Going in and making my slice. And like I said, the amount I'm taking is the same amount as if I were to lift this up. You guys are going to see that this is going to connect. So that's how I know how much to take underneath. So I got my section there. I'm going to put my thumb up. And I have baby fingers, you guys. So literally my ring finger, I think I'm a size 3.5. They're really little. So if you go up trying to use your thumb and it's not working, it probably may not unless you have little hands. So find what is good for you. I'm going to take my comb, place it back into my watch. We're going to take our pincher fingers. We're going to open up. We're going to place our loop, place it nice and close to the scalp. We're going to grab our cylinder from below, and we're going to push it up. This took me the longest time to figure out because the pushing and the looping, I couldn't do it. And then my finger, my pinky, that's where I'm keeping this loop, my threader, rested the entire time. And I'm keeping all my tools in my hands, so I'm not picking up and dropping down. And see how I took my fingers and I lowered the elevation? Keeping that lower elevation is really important. And knowing how high to put this cylinder is I put it up right below the parting, and we want it right in the middle so we have even distribution from right to left. And how many times are we going to clamp? 3, 2, 3. And I'm going to do one more for you guys, and then I'm going to show you guys how to do a skeleton. And I'll tell you what that is because, it's spooky season. So you think I'm going to do something spooky? No. A skeleton, it's just me showing you guys what it looks like before the weft. So once again, we're going in, we're taking our slice, we're getting the size we need. Make sure everything is clean, extra, extra clean. I'm lifting up, I'm checking, making sure it looks good. Sometimes I can get heavy in my lower corners, and just the little bit of hair is going to make all the difference. And I can already tell grabbing this section right here, it feels maybe a little too much. So let's see if my cylinder will actually go up and over it. So we're going to take it all the way to the scalp. Oh, all right. That's perfect. That's what I wanted. See, I can't literally pull it through. Do not force it through, you guys. That's not good. So I wanted to show you guys that what happens when it's way too much hair. So we're just going to come through and we're going to lift it back up, get those little baby sections off. And then I'm going to come and take just a tiny bit more off. And it's tiny bits at a time. You're not removing big bits. Once I install this cylinder, I'm going to take a peek at the page and see if you guys have any questions. So as I'm pushing this cylinder up to the scalp and pulling it, keeping low elevation, hooping my loop over my pinky, and then we're going to lower down my finger, removing the elevation, take my clamp in, place it flush against the head, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's how you guys are going to install your cylinders. Do you guys have any questions at all before I move on to the stitching part of this? Looking good. Cool. Thank you, Sharon. All right, so now I'm going to move her back so you guys can see me. Now I'm going to show you guys a skeleton install. It's spooky season, like I said, but it's not a skeleton. What I'm going to show you guys is how to actually stitch on this without the weft in, because when the weft is on and if I start stitching, it can get very confusing. I never sewed like really ever before extensions. If you are somebody who knows how to sew, this will be easy. This is the part when I'm teaching classes, extra time on, because it is tricky. All right, how am I going to know how much string I need? My rule of thumb is I do 2 to 3 arm lengths. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the end of my string right here. I'm going to go 1. I'm going to do 3 this time. Ah! Don't drop. Oh my gosh, I'm dropping everything, you guys. 2. And then, hold on, it's wanting to wrap around itself. I think I tangled it. When I was going and teaching another class, I made the mistake of throwing my string in my bag and not making sure it was together. And that is the hardest part about this string, is once it gets tangled, it is downhill. So make sure you're taking your time with it. All right, now I think we're at 3 there. So we're going to do it 3 times. Now, with the size of the needle that you guys want to use, everyone is so different on what their preference is. I thought because I have little hands, I would like the smaller needles. When you do purchase your Dreamcatchers kit, it comes with the larger needle. And I'm going to keep this up close, you guys, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to thread this, okay? Okay. Oh, you know how to sew? Okay, so this is going to be easy for you. It was not easy for me. They had me redo it so many times. All right, we have the eye of the needle right there. I'm going to take my thread and we're going to put it, I have my light blinding me right now. We're going to thread it through and we're going to pull it all the way through. And I want to get the end of the other side. With doing this, I can't tell you guys how many times I have tangled this up and then you have to cut the string and restart over. So make sure you're keeping, I have my needle here and I have my 2 ends here. Usually I would take this needle and set it on my tray so it's not on the ground, it's not creating tension, but Sally don't care. So we're going to put it in Sally's hair. All right, we have our 2 ends, and you guys are going to learn I do everything in 3s, okay? So we have our 2 ends right next to each other. I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to loop it around 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to take the ends and pull them through the loop, okay? So we're going to come through. And I just got long nails on, so this is fun. I'm getting used to them. I took like a year off of having nails, and so now I have them back, and it's like I'm trying to get used to them. And so with doing extensions, the great thing is sectioning, but when I'm doing all this stuff, it can get a little crazy. So we're going to pull, 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 pull. Okay. Now we want to make sure that this knot is nice and secure. Because nylon, the downside, it can get loose. So we're going to make sure we tie a knot on the top and the bottom. And it's just a simple knot. So I'm going to tie a knot right underneath here. And it's kind of hard, I know, to see for you guys. So I'm hoping that I'm explaining as much as I can. So you're kind of seeing visually and then you're hearing it as well. Any questions about how I created the first part of tying my needle into this? Oh my gosh, this is so tricky with my nails. Literally, I just got these guys done on Saturday. Okay, now we're getting it. Now we're getting it. And we're going to pull it through and I'm going to look at the comments and nothing. Okay, so I've tied the top and the bottom. We have our excess that's right here. And we don't want to have these extra bunny ears on here. We're going to make sure we snip those guys off. And with dream catchers, you get this cute like little wefting kit when you do take one of their classes with me. And it comes with everything you need. So like these cute little scissors right here. Now I'm going to cut off. I'm going to leave just enough. I usually like to leave 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. Don't cut it all the way off. You need a little bit of those ears still there, but you don't want all the excess. Now I need to get it back to you guys so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Ah, love you. All right. So I have my string ready to go. So our first stitch is going to be what's called a lock stitch. And when we do this, we are going to start on your dominant side. So if you're a right-handy, you're going to start on the right side. If you're lefty, you're going to go to the left side. Do I have any lefties in here? Comment below if you're lefty so I can make sure that I can flip stuff for you guys. If we're all righties, it's dominant and it's easy. Okay. When we're starting, we're not going to start on the first cylinder. If they have super fine, thin hair, I might start on the 3rd cylinder back. I'm going to start on the 2nd cylinder. That's usually where I start. And now I'm going to zoom in. It could get a little crazy, you guys, because I'm trying to make sure my tripod is here so you guys can see. So if it gets wobbly or I drop it, I'm sorry. All right, now when I'm working, I'm going to take this end and I toss it over my shoulder and I have this here. If you leave that end floating around anywhere, it's going to get stuck on your client. It's going to get stuck on your tray. So you're going to always see me tossing my string over my shoulder. It's the easiest way for me to keep it. Let's zoom her in for you guys. It's like when I move her one way, it's the wrong way. Oh, I got it this time. All right, let me see if I can get a little bit tighter without it messing up me being able to stitch. I can hear my Frenchie outside. I don't know if you guys can hear him. He's snorting. All right, so we're going to start right here and we're going to do a lock stitch. And what is a lock stitch? So we're going to come to our cylinder. And remember, you guys, I'm showing you a skeleton install. So this is what we would do if we had a weft on. We're going to come in and I'm coming in on the right side. And what we're going to do is this loop that we made with our string, we're going to come through the loop. And everything we do, keep your hand here as you're pulling the string, because see the hair right there? I don't want the string getting caught. So we're just going to pull it and get it nice and organized and make sure the whole time you're working that you are staying nice and organized because you don't want anything getting caught on itself. And you really learn at first, I mean, even see how I'm using my thumb to just support. Those little things take time to get used to with having that finesse. It's kind of like, you know, the first time you do an updo, it's that finesse in your hands. Okay, so now we're coming up and I'm going to pull straight up. That is the only time you're going to do that lock stitch. Now we're going to move to the edge and then we're going to sew back. So now we're going to do a open blanket. What is a open blanket? It is open. See how nothing, a closed blanket I'll show you is that where you come across and you're closing. Let's keep the door open. We're going to come to the left side and we're going to hook, and we're not coming straight through the middle. We're coming to the left for these hairs that we created. We're coming to the left. We're keeping our finger down and we're keeping this open. When you're first installing the weft, it's going to feel not secure with these first few stitches. So it'll be very important when you do actually have the weft on to have everything nice and clipped down, because that's going to be your lifesaver. With wefting the edges, that's where I'm getting to. So this is her edge. That is the spot that we are actually going to do it 3 times. Remember, 3 is for everything. The edge is where everyone starts to, it flaps off, it drops. It's the first exposed, and it's what our clients are the hardest on. So we're going to double secure it, triple secure it with 3s. And we're going to do an open blanket. So I'm opening the door, and we're going to do one right next to each other. So we're going to do one. And then the next one after this, do not do it on top of it. We are going to take the next open blanket, and it's going to stack right next to it. If you put these knots on top of each other, you're going to get slippage. So we're going to come right here, and I'm pulling everything up, putting my hand back down. It's open, and we're coming through, guiding it. I can't tell you how many times I've poked my finger, and we're coming through, and we're going to stack that knot right next to that first one. And I'm always taking my hand and securing and pulling up. I'm going to look and see, is there any question, you guys? I keep peeking around. I can't see what you guys are writing because I have you guys so zoomed in on this. Last one, your third. So that is all we're going to do for open blanket. Okay, open blanket. We're keeping everything nice and open. Sorry, it's getting stuck on my tripod right now. We're going to keep everything nice and open. Now we're going to be doing closed blanket, and I call that the cruising stitch, because once I start this next stitch, which is closed blanket, it's very, very quick. It's a lot of work, but the more times you do it, it gets easier. Okay, so closed, we're going to come across and close, and I'm going to come to the left side, and I'm going to hook it down. Okay. Oh my gosh, it literally is stuck on the bottom of my tripod. Hold on, you guys, bear with me. Like I said, technical difficulty. Stop getting stuck. Okay. Now we're going to make sure we get reorganized after it getting stuck on my tripod. I'm going to pull all the string, keep it nice and organized. And you guys can't see, but from afar, I'm using my left hand to help guide it on everything it's wanting to get stuck on my tripod. So then we're going to come up, guide your finger, pull straight up. We want to keep everything on the top of the weft when we're going, okay? So now we're closing the blanket, going to the right side, looping through. Once you hit this point, this is really when you're going to start cruising. Once I hit this point, I'm like happy. We've gotten the foundation laid, and we're just moving and grooving. And I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to hold it down, and we're going to pull up. Close the door, come to the left, hook it through. And remember, we are not going through the middle of it. Oh my gosh, it's hooking on my tripod again. It never does this in class. Okay. And we're going to pull. We're using our hands to guide and keep everything secure. I'm going to try to purposely right now create a snag and see if I can, come on. Oh, nope, it didn't. So I'm trying to create a snag. So what a snag is when you're pulling it through. Let me make sure you guys can still see. You can. Let me move her. So a snag is like when you have this weird loop going on. Whenever you get that, just make sure you tug on one side or the other, and that's going to help remove it. And let me get adjusted again for you guys. So we're closing the door. So remember, open blanket, we're not closing it. It's staying open like that and stitching through. Close the door, and we sew through and around that door. And make sure you're going through the loop. Don't go through. I was at first, this is the loop we did the lock stitch with. Don't do that. We're going through the big loop, and we're creating a circle, and we're guiding, and then we're going to pull it all the way through. I'm going to show you guys a few more, and then we're going to I'm going to show you guys how to get the weft ready. Any questions as I'm working? We're going to come over, close the door, and stitch it through. And you guys, I love dream catchers because their hair is the highest quality that you're going to get. They go through and they're always checking their bundles. They have these guys that go through the warehouse. they pull a random bundle and they're checking it and making sure it is the best quality. And whatever doesn't hit our quality, we actually sell off to our competitors. So you're gonna see the highest grade that you can see with hair extensions with dream catchers. High-end, luxury, ethically sourced. It's not one of those where they're sourcing it unethically. There's a whole documentary, and I think that's what also turned me off from hair extensions, is because how some of it is sourced and it is not ethical. All right. Did you guys see some of the stitching? Any questions on the stitching before I remove her back and talk to you guys? Cool. See my pretty face again? There I am. Now, when I do have to step away from my client and say I'm stitching and I need to grab or do something, what do you do with the needle? I take it and I put it right here in the back of the head. It's going to stay right here. You're not going to run into the thread or anything like that. Now, clumsy me, I dropped my pretty weft on the ground. I can't wait to show you. It's a really pretty one. Hold on, you guys. Okay. I'm back. All righty. So this is the color pink. You can order them in fashion colors or you can get them blonde and then color them that way. So this is 20 inches of pink gorgeousness. And when it comes, you have the little band around it. How we're going to remove the band is sometimes they can be tricky to get off. We're going to hold the top of our weft and we're going to take the band and we just slide it down. And you slide it down. Never cut the band. I have cut one too many wefts at the top doing that. Now, the biggest thing, if you guys are familiar with hair extension, wefts have what a mustache is. And those of you that know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. At the top right here, there's like these pricklies. It's like a little mustache. That is irritating to clients' scalps. Dreamcatchers does not have that. So this 20-inch hair is 30 grams of hair. It is a hybrid. You can cut it. A lot of wefts you cannot cut to fit the head shape. You cut it and the whole thing falls apart. That is hand tied. This is a machine. So that's another big thing is you guys will hear hand tied. I want hand tied extensions and they think of it as like we're hand tying it on versus machine. I like the machine hybrid because this is a ton of grams of hair. A lot of brands, they range anywhere with their 20 inches of from 19 grams, maybe 24, 25 grams. This one is 30 grams of hair and it's 11 inches long. So it can really fit majority of heads. I haven't had any where I've had to add on. All right, question. Does the extensions grab the semi-permanent color without being patchy? That's a great question. So it's patchy if you do it dry. That's why I prefer to do all my color on extensions with it wet. It's going to even out the porosity. It's going to prevent it from over grabbing. And I haven't had any issues as long as I'm doing it wet. They're not dripping wet. You know, you wash them, wring them out, comb them. Do that. If you don't do that, at least spray them down if they are drying, and that's going to prevent any of that patchiness for you. All right, so we just pulled this extension straight out of the package, and as you guys can see, it's kind of, I call it waffly. See how it's like up and down? We do not want to take that and apply it straight on because that is not going to give us a nice even surface. Even if you wash these and you pull them up, if you don't do this next step, it's not going to help. So this is a tip you guys need to keep your eyes out for. So what I'm going to do is I have my Rusk titanium flat iron. This guy is my bad boy. I use all the time. And not only with just styling hair, it's great for this little tip. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our flat iron and we're going to run it across the top of the weft right here. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow it to lay nice and smooth. Do not put your flat iron at like 400 and do this. I'm putting it to, it should stop 3. I like it because it has the digital gauge. You can see how hot it is. Okay, I'm taking it to 320. And what I'm going to do now is, let me step back so you guys can maybe see it a little bit better. I'm going to take my flat iron and I'm going to run it over the top. This is going to help with making sure we're getting rid of any of that waffling that we do not want. And you can see how it's wanting to straighten out. And I'm running it over a few times to see it's nice and straight. You can see the difference of how nice and even that is versus the waffling that we have there. when it comes fresh out of the package. So these little tips, you guys, these are going to make a difference in how much you like installing these, because extensions do take a lot of time, and making sure you do steps like this that are little will make a big difference and make it easier for you. And your client, if they've gotten an extension somewhere else, they're going to see the difference. My clients always see the difference of these little things that I do. It sets me apart from other stylists, and that's what's going to keep them coming back. Now, when it comes to putting this on, there's two ways that you can do it. If you're comfortable with your client, you can ask them when you wrap it around to hold the corners for you. So you can ask them to hold it on each side. I never ask mine because my girls are always with their heads down working on their laptops. So majority of the time what I do, you guys can see how I have all my clips up here. I prepped her and put all the clips up here because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the back. I'm going to take this, and you want to measure it, and you want to make sure that you have all the cylinders you should have on, and you're going to make sure that it reaches all the way across. Now, if it's too long, make sure you cut the left. If it's too short, make sure that you can balance it out with another. So I'm going to place it there, and then I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to walk them back to there. So that's going to drop. I know it's going to do that, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that I'm going to start to just like clip. And this part is probably the tedious part that I take a lot of time on. And if I probably asked my client to help me, it wouldn't be as hard. But I rather prepare myself to not have a client help. Just like I don't like asking clients to hold my foils and pass them to me. They're paying for a luxury service, so they should just be pampered and not like expected to work. The only time anyone ever holds anything for me is if I'm working on a model and they're holding pins for me. So this part, you're going to make sure you go through, and we don't want to have this weft covering our part. We're putting it just below it. And sometimes I put it just above where my cylinders are. And you want to make sure that you really have it nice and secured as you're going through. So as you're sewing, you're not getting it bouncing up and down on you whatsoever. And I'm just going through and holding those stitches down. And now I'm going to show you guys a few of the stitches on here because we have a little bit more time. My thread is right here in the middle, so I'm going to pick it up and pretend that we have been stitching it the whole time. So I'm going to pull out my thread. Let's see if I can do this without it getting stuck on everything again. Oh my gosh, I might get stuck coming up through here. Let's see. We're just going to pull her up. All right. So she is right here. She's on this left side. So what are we going to do, you guys? We're going to make sure we do a closed blanket. We're going to close it off, and we're going to work our way around. Now, I want to show you guys too how I finish. So I'm going to put in a few stitches, and then I'm going to show you guys how I tie off a weft. So we're going to do one. We're going to do another one. Now, pretend with me, okay? Get your imaginations out. Let's pretend I have completely reached the left side, and I'm over there, and I'm ready to finish and tie it off. So you guys got to get really visual with me because I don't have the time, the hour, to stitch all the way back over there. All right, let's pretend. Let me move it up. Angle it. Oh my gosh, these angles. It's like backwards whenever I turn it. And move it in. All right. So let's pretend this is the edge, that this is her left side. This is the edge, just like we have our edge here. What I'm going to do is we're going to do in threes again, and we're going to do open blanket. Okay. We're going to come right next to this guy, and we're going to come through. So that's two, always guiding your string, and we're not going to put them on top of each other. So that's going to be two. Ah, it did it. Yes. So there are some weird loops right here. And when they're not perfectly flush how that knot should be when you create it, open up and then just pull one side and then pull the other to get that loop to come down. And that's how you'll make sure you get that flattened out. So then we're going to come through again one more time, and we're going to hook it through. So we got our three. Now we need to, remember when we started over here on the skeleton and we started on the second or third cylinder back, we're not going to finish on the corner like this. because it's so easy for this corner to come undone. So we're not going to finish like that. We're going to stitch backwards. So now I'm going to come to the right. Once again, we're pretending this is the left side. We've gotten to the edge. Now we're going to sew back, and we're doing open blanket. So we start it with open blanket and we finish it with open blanket. So we're going to come to the other side of the cylinder, and we're going to go 2 to 3 cylinders back. So we're going to go 1, and my tripod's wanting to catch her. And remember, I'm pulling up 1, then we're open blanket because we're not closing it. We're keeping her open. We're coming to the left side of the cylinder here, nice and straight down. Another thing you need to be aware of is coming vertically straight down and not pushing that hair to the side. We're going to come through and pull up. All right. Now we're going to finish it off. This is the tricky part. You guys ready? So we're going to place your needle into the right side, just like you were about to do another open blanket, but we're not going to pull it all the way through. We're going to loop it around 3 times around the needle. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to hold my fingers where I just looped that, and I'm going to grab the tip of my needle, and I'm going to pull it. And we're going to keep pulling, 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 and then your arm's going to run out of room, and then you're going to want to pull, 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 because there's so much string right here. I never usually have this much string because usually I'm at like the end of it. We're just going to keep pulling, and maybe it'll tangle, so then I can show you guys how to fix any tangles. And that's what it's doing. I'm keeping my pointer finger right here to help prevent any of that tangling from happening, since I did have so much. And so I'm going to pull it back because it's wanting to get stuck, and it's just kind of manipulating your string, you guys, and don't get frustrated. Pull it straight up. So that's how we finish a tie off with it. What we're going to do now is we're going to come over. We're going to take our little shears right here, and we're going to cut them. See all that extra excess that we have right there? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to tie it in 3s again. So we're just going to do 3 knots. So yes, we did 3s right there over the needle, but we want to make sure this is secure and it doesn't come untied. You guys will be shocked how often clients come back and this comes untied. So making sure it's nice and secure. Then just like when we started our needle, we don't want all this excess. We want to cut it off, but we don't want to cut off a ton. But before I do that, because we have a few more minutes, I'm going to show you guys my little tip, because it does come untied. I've heard stylists say that they use glue, which I would never put glue, even if it was like lash glue or hair glue, near the hair. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my looper again, my threader, and I'm going to grab my thread and I'm going to place it over. And I'm going to thread it just like I did when I was placing my foundation. I'm going to put it up and over. I just pulled through those ends. I need to grab my, where did I set them down? I'm going to grab my clamps and clamp on it. Oh, they're all the way at the bottom. Sorry about that, you guys. Bear with me. So we're going to grab these guys and we're going to clamp it. And I usually like to clamp it, not where it's tight, tight tension, but where it's flat. 1, 2, 3. So that's going to prevent it. Now I want to cut off the excess of the string right there that's hanging out from it. Then after this, because if a client feels that cylinder right there, they're going to think it's from underneath. It's going to think it's the foundation. So after I do that, I'll say, hey, can I take your hand? And I'll take their hand and have them feel it. So when they feel that in the future, they know that that is normal. If they feel any more than that, that is not normal. And they need to make sure that they call me. All right. That was a lot in 1 hour. Usually wefting is many, many hours of teaching and educating. So you guys got just a nice little tidbit of what I teach in class. You can go to dreamcatchers.com and you can take online education there. And you can also request me to come to you. You can also do that with Rusk. If you guys have interest with Rusk or any colors or anything like that, you have full access to me. You have me here. And next week, I'm so excited what I'm going to bring to you guys. So stay tuned, and I hope to see all of you again. If you have any questions in regards to extensions, hair color, anything like that, let me know. And Cosmo Prof, you guys, have you seen Color of the World? It is going to be on October 22nd. You need to make sure you're checking that out. I'm going to be doing Vivids. You guys all know I'm known for my lived in color, but the start of my color career was Vivids. And I'm going to be doing a Vivid model. I'm actually going to be having a live model, a prep, and we're doing extensions. So it's going to be a whole lot in another hour. I like to really put it in there. So make sure you guys go and sign up for Color of the World with Cosmo Prof. I hope to also see you guys there. And I will see everyone next week on Wednesday, 5:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 Eastern Time. I hope you guys have a beautiful day and thank you again. Thank you. Bye, guys.